"Help me. Please," the old man whispered, tears streaming down his weathered face. $4.7 billion in his account, yet tonight he would die alone on this bench unless a barefoot boy hadn't stopped. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across Westfield Plaza as Harold Mitchell sat alone on a wooden bench, his weathered hands trembling. At 78, his once commanding presence had diminished to that of a frail old man in a wrinkled gray suit that hung loosely on his thin frame. His cloudy eyes darted nervously around the unfamiliar surroundings, panic rising in his chest. "Excuse me?" he called out to a young woman hurrying past, her eyes glued to her phone. "Could you please help me? I seem to be lost." She quickened her pace, pretending not to hear him. "Please," he tried again, this time reaching toward a man in a business suit. "I can't remember how to get home." The man stepped back, annoyed. "Sorry, I'm late for a meeting," he muttered before walking away. One by one, they all ignored him. Some averted their eyes, some pretended to be on important phone calls. Others simply quickened their pace. Harold had become invisible, just another confused elderly man, a nuisance in their busy lives. What those passing strangers couldn't possibly know was that just 8 hours earlier, Harold Mitchell had signed documents worth $4.7 billion finalizing the sale of Mitchell Enterprises, the technology empire he had built from nothing over 5 decades. He was one of the wealthiest men in the country, but wealth meant nothing now as he sat alone, confused, and increasingly frightened. The first signs of his dementia had appeared 3 years ago. Small things at first: misplaced keys, forgotten appointments, names that slipped just beyond his grasp. He had hidden it well, masking his confusion during board meetings with practiced phrases, and relying heavily on his executive assistant, Martha. Only his doctor and Martha knew the truth about his condition. Today had been his final day as CEO. After the signing, he had insisted on walking alone to his favorite deli, just 2 blocks from his office. A small act of independence before retirement would confine him to a more protected life. "I've been walking these streets for 40 years, Martha," he had insisted when she offered to accompany him. "I think I can manage lunch on my own." But somewhere between the conference room and the deli, the familiar city had morphed into a bewildering maze. Now, as the afternoon wore on, his panic intensified. He had tried using his phone, but the battery had died, and he couldn't remember Martha's number anyway. His wallet contained credit cards and ID, but in his confused state, he couldn't think to show them to anyone or ask to use their phone. Harold's eyes welled with tears as he watched a young mother hurry past, pulling her curious child along when the little boy tried to wave at him. He had built skyscrapers in this very city, created jobs for thousands, donated millions to hospitals and schools. Now, he was nothing but an inconvenience. As the sun began to set and the plaza emptied, Harold's hope dwindled. The temperature dropped, and he pulled his suit jacket tighter around himself. He considered trying to find a police officer but couldn't remember which direction to go. The landmarks that had once been so familiar now seemed foreign and threatening. "Are you okay, mister?" The small voice cut through Harold's despair. He looked up to find a boy of about 12 standing before him. The child wore tattered jeans and a faded blue hoodie that was several sizes too large. His sneakers were worn thin, and a small backpack hung from one shoulder. But it was his eyes that caught Harold's attention, deep brown and filled with compassion that had been absent in the hundreds who had passed by. I'm lost," Harold admitted, his voice cracking. "I can't remember how to get home." Instead of walking away, the boy sat down beside him. "My name's Miguel. What's yours?" Harold Mitchell," he replied, surprised by how good it felt to be acknowledged, to be seen. "Nice to meet you, Mr. Mitchell. Are you hungry?" "I have half a sandwich left," Miguel offered, already reaching into his backpack. Harold was about to decline when he realized he hadn't eaten since breakfast. "That's very kind of you, son, but I couldn't take your food." Miguel smiled, revealing a gap where a front tooth was missing. "It's okay. The lady at the deli always gives me extra. She says growing boys need to eat." He unwrapped a slightly squashed ham sandwich and broke it in half, offering the larger portion to Harold. As they ate in silence, Harold studied the boy. Despite his worn clothes and thin frame, there was a quiet dignity about him. He ate slowly, savoring each bite as if it were a gourmet meal. "Do you live around here?" Harold asked after finishing his share of the sandwich. Miguel hesitated. "Sort of. My mom and we move around a lot." He didn't elaborate, but Harold understood what remained unsaid. The boy was homeless or close to it. "What about you, Mr. Mitchell? Where do you live? Maybe I can help you get home." Harold closed his eyes, trying to concentrate. "Parkview Towers, on 47th and Madison. At least I think that's it." His uncertainty was evident in his wavering voice. Miguel nodded thoughtfully. "That's pretty far from here. We'd need to take the subway." He paused, glancing at Harold's expensive watch. "Do you have any money for tickets?" Harold patted his pockets, finding his wallet. Inside were several credit cards and a few $100s in cash. "Yes, I believe I do." "Good," Miguel said decisively, standing up and extending his hand. "I'll take you home, Mr. Mitchell." Harold stared at the offered hand, thin and calloused for one so young. In that moment, something profound shifted within him. This child, who clearly had nothing, was offering everything. His time, his help, his compassion. While the wealthy, the educated, the privileged had rushed past without a second glance. He took Miguel's hand, allowing the boy to help him to his feet. "Thank you, son." "No problem, Mr. Mitchell. My mom says everybody needs help sometimes." They walked toward the subway station. Harold relied heavily on Miguel's guidance. The boy moved with the confidence of someone who had memorized the city's layout out of necessity, rather than choice. He kept a protective hand on Harold's elbow, slowing his pace to accommodate the older man's uncertain steps. "Have you lived in the city long?" Harold asked as they descended the subway stairs. Miguel nodded. "All my life. We used to have an apartment in Queens when my dad was alive. He drove a taxi. After he died, Mom couldn't keep up with the rent, so we moved around a lot." He spoke matter-of-factly, without self-pity. "She works 2 jobs now, cleaning offices at night and a hospital during the day. I don't see her much." Harold felt a pang of sadness. "Who takes care of you when she's working?" Miguel shrugged. "I take care of myself. I'm 12, almost 13. That's old enough." At the ticket machine, Harold fumbled with his wallet. His fingers, usually so dexterous, now seemed clumsy and uncooperative. Miguel tactfully took over, purchasing 2 tickets with the cash Harold provided. On the subway, Harold noticed how Miguel positioned himself between him and the other passengers, creating a protective buffer. The boy chatted easily about school, when he could attend, his favorite subjects, math and science, and his dream, becoming an engineer someday. "Engineers build things that last," he explained earnestly. "Things that help people." Harold smiled, thinking of his own career path. "I started as an engineer myself, a long time ago." Miguel's eyes widened. "Really? What did you build?" "Computer systems mostly. Back when they were the size of refrigerators," Harold chuckled. "Eventually I built a company instead." As they traveled, Harold felt moments of clarity returning. The familiar rhythm of the subway and Miguel's steady presence seemed to anchor him to reality. He began to remember details. Martha's phone number, the security code to his building, the names of his grandchildren. After changing trains once, they finally emerged onto Madison Avenue. The elegant facade of Parkview Towers loomed ahead, its doorman visible under the green awning. "Is that it?" Miguel asked, pointing. Harold nodded, relief washing over him. "Yes, that's my building." He turned to the boy, suddenly aware of what a remarkable thing had happened. "Miguel, I don't know how to thank you." Miguel smiled. "You don't have to, Mr. Mitchell. I'm just glad you'll get home safe." As they approached the building, the doorman's eyes widened in recognition and concern. "Mr. Mitchell, we've been looking everywhere for you. Ms. Winters has called the police." Harold winced, imagining Martha's worry. "This young man helped me find my way home." he explained, placing a hand on Miguel's shoulder. The boy shrank slightly under the doorman's scrutiny, suddenly self-conscious of his worn clothes in front of the luxury building. "Should I call Ms. Winters to let her know you're back safely?" the doorman asked, already reaching for his phone. "In a moment," Harold replied. "First, I'd like to invite my friend Miguel up for dinner. He's been extraordinarily kind to me today." Miguel looked up in surprise. "Oh, that's okay, Mr. Mitchell. I should probably head back soon. My mom will be wondering where I am." Harold considered this. "Do you have a phone? Perhaps you could call her?" Miguel shook his head. We don't have phones right now." Harold nodded thoughtfully. "I understand. Well, at the very least, let me give you something for your trouble before you go." He reached for his wallet, but stopped as he saw Miguel's expression change. There was a flicker of disappointment, quickly masked by polite acceptance. Harold realized with sudden clarity that offering money, while well-intentioned, would diminish what had transpired between them. This wasn't about transaction, it was about connection. "Actually," Harold amended, "I have a better idea. James," he addressed the doorman, "could you please call Martha and ask her to come down? And also call Ronaldo's to deliver dinner for 3, make it the works." Miguel looked confused. 3, you, me, and your mother, Harold explained. "If you need to get back to her, then perhaps we could bring her dinner instead." "Where might she be now?" Miguel's eyes widened. "She's cleaning at Mercy Hospital until 10 tonight. "Perfect. We'll take dinner to her then." Harold turned back to the doorman. "James, please also ask Thomas to bring the car around." Within minutes, Martha arrived, rushing out of the elevator with a mixture of relief and exasperation on her face. "Harold, thank God. I've been out of my mind with worry." "I got a bit turned around, Martha," Harold admitted. "Fortunately, Miguel here was kind enough to help me find my way back." Martha turned to the boy, taking in his worn clothes and thin frame. "Thank you for helping him," she said warmly. "You have no idea how important this man is." Miguel shrugged. He needed help. "That's all that matters, right?" Martha's expression softened further. "Yes, young man, that's exactly right." Harold cleared his throat. "Martha, there's been a change of plans. Miguel and I are going to take dinner to his mother at Mercy Hospital. Would you be kind enough to gather a few things from my office? I believe it's time to put one of our contingency plans into action." Martha's eyebrows raised slightly, but she nodded. "Of course, I'll be right back." As they waited for the car, Harold turned to Miguel. "There's something I haven't told you, son. I'm not just any engineer. The company I built, Mitchell Enterprises, it's rather large, and today I sold it." Miguel looked impressed but uncertain of how to respond. "That's cool?" Harold smiled. "The point is, I've been thinking about what to do next. I have more money than I could spend in several lifetimes, but my doctor tells me I don't have as much time as I'd like." He tapped his temple gently. "My mind is beginning to fail me. You see, days like today will become more common." Miguel's expression grew serious. "I'm sorry, Mr. Mitchell. Don't be, I've had a good run. But it occurs to me that I should use what time and resources I have left for something meaningful." He paused as Thomas pulled up with the town car. "How would you feel about helping me start a foundation? Something to help families like yours, hard-working people who have fallen on difficult times." Miguel stared at him. "Me? But I don't know anything about foundations." "Perhaps not. But you know about compassion, which is far more important. You saw someone in need today when hundreds of others looked away. That's the kind of vision I need." Before Miguel could respond, Martha returned with a leather portfolio. "Everything's ready, Harold." "Excellent. Shall we go meet your mother, Miguel?" That evening in the cafeteria of Mercy Hospital, Harold Mitchell, billionaire, business titan, and newly diagnosed dementia patient, shared pizza with a cleaning woman named Sophia and her son Miguel. As Sophia wept with disbelief at the job offer Martha presented, executive director of community outreach for the newly formed Mitchell Foundation, with a salary that would change their lives instantly, Harold watched Miguel's face. The boy wasn't focusing on the money or the opportunity. Instead, he was watching his mother transform before his eyes, hope returning to a face that had known too little of it. And in that moment, Harold knew he had made the right decision. 6 months later, the Mitchell Foundation opened its first community center in Queens, with programs for homeless families, job training, after-school care, and senior services. Miguel and Harold could often be found there in the engineering lab they had designed together, the boy patiently showing the older man how to build model bridges, creating something that would last. On days when Harold's mind was clear, he would share business strategies with the foundation's growing staff. On days when confusion clouded his thoughts, Miguel would simply take his hand and lead him through the building, pointing out all the lives they were helping together. What began with a simple act of kindness, a boy taking an old man's hand, when no one else would, blossomed into a legacy more meaningful than any corporate empire. Money had built Harold's world, but compassion saved it. And somewhere in the space between giving and receiving help, both the billionaire and the beggar boy found something more valuable than wealth. They found family. In a city where thousands of people are separated by invisible walls of indifference, they proved that the most powerful connection is often the simplest. One human being seeing another, not for their status or their circumstances, but for their humanity. And that perhaps is the most unbreakable tale of all,